Hello there, and welcome to the next episode of NaNoWriMo Tarot here on East of the Moon Tarot. Ah. So, today, day 5 of the challenge. I'm recording it on the same day that I recorded days 3 and 4. But for day 5 of the challenge, we are finally meeting our villain. Today we are meeting our antagonist. So this is going to be another kind of a longer episode. I am going to try to keep it as concise as possible and still get through everything. We will be using essentially the same exercises that we used for day 2 when we met and interviewed our hero or heroine. So if you don't want to watch this video, if it does get lengthy, you can go back and watch episode 2, and all of the exercises that we did in episode 2, just apply those to your bad guy. Essentially, that's what we're going to be doing today. So again, you may not want to commit a lot of time to watching this, and if you don't, that is perfectly fine. Just go back and watch day 2, or stay tuned and see what kind of shenanigans and tomfoolery we get up to. Ha ha ha. I am gonna go grab my tea, so I'm gonna pause, although you guys won't really notice because I'll be back in no time at all. See that? You barely noticed I was gone, huh? And now I have an excellent mug of Twinings Earl Grey tea. They should really be sponsoring my entire life at this point, because I basically just drink nothing but Earl Grey tea. And I'm a Twinings kind of girl. I'm real basic. I don't know what to tell you. So, we are interviewing our villain. And I did want to take a moment to reflect for a second on the fact that in modern literature especially, the villain of a story is not always a person. So if you want to give yourself a bigger challenge and get really, really creative with these exercises, don't read any of this as relating to a person. Don't make your villain a person in the story. Make it a set of circumstances, or something systemic, or a lot of people, a group or something like that. Villainy comes in many forms, and antagonists and antagonism come in many forms, and they don't always have to come straight from an individual. So that's just a little fruit for thought to get you guys started. Essentially, like, the villain or the source of conflict in a story is one of the most important parts to a story. And I would actually say, this is just my opinion, but I would actually say that the villain or the source of conflict is more important than the protagonist, because without conflict, you do not have a story. Now, it can always be sweet, light, fluffy conflict if you want that, if you don't want some kind of hardcore, like battle going on in your story. But conflict is what drives a story. It just is. That's it. It's the entire point. It's why people watch stories. Conflict doesn't always mean fighting. It can mean the struggle towards attainment, or a struggle towards atonement, or any number of things. So make sure that you are, when you're hearing me use words like conflict, I don't necessarily mean people getting into brawls. I don't necessarily mean people getting into internet arguments or something like that. Conflict can be any source of angst, or any source of, like strife that's going on. So that is also something for you to keep in mind here. It's a necessary component to your book if you don't want your book to suck. So we're going to dig a little deeper, and we're doing, like I told you, we're doing those same exercises that we did for your hero. We are just now applying them to the bad guy. So we are going to separate out our court cards the same way that we did for the hero. So I'm going to pause the video here as I did earlier. And in the earlier video, I'm going to pause the video and pull out my court cards, and then I'll come back to you guys when I have those. It will take a second before I do that. I was not going to use this deck just yet. It just came in, and there's a couple of cards that I'm hoping that the creator will replace for me, because there were a couple of cards that were damaged, and normally I really don't care if it's a mass market or something like that, but this is a very expensive indie deck, and you know, I don't want, there's some black schmutz on the Sun card, and then there was two really deep like lines in the Fool card, and they won't show up on video probably unless I tilt the cards in such a way to make them show. But when I'm doing readings in person and stuff like that, I would really like to not have those flaws there. So yeah, this will be the inaugural usage, I guess, of my Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot, illustrated by the lovely Anna Torian. If you guys don't know who she is, I seriously encourage you to go check out her work. She's done a lot of really incredible things, and I've followed her for a few years. I really, really adore everything that she does. I've got her Oracle of Echoes right here, which I've been using. Just for myself, I've probably been using that more since I got it a couple of months ago than I have any of my tarot decks, actually, which is unusual for me to use an Oracle deck that often. But yeah, so go check out Anna's work. The Bonestone, unfortunately, unfortunately, depending on who you ask, is out of print now. It was a very, very limited run, so this particular deck you probably can't get unless you're willing to pay between $500 to $1,000 to buy it on eBay, but you can support Anna by buying prints. If you like the artwork of this deck, you can go buy prints on her website, or buy some of her other decks. She's working on the Tarot of Echoes right now, which I'm very excited about. She has a Lenormand deck and just a bunch of other cool stuff. She's also just a really gifted tarot reader as well. I had a reading with her over this summer, and it was really wonderful. So I will stop fangirling over Anna and just show you guys a couple of images from the deck. I always just kind of cut the deck at random to choose cards to show you guys, so I'm not just showing you, oh, these are my favorite, the prettiest cards. Oh, this is one of my favorite cards in this deck. This is the Page of Cups, and she's, generally speaking, the Page of Cups is one of my very favorite cards anyway, but God, she is just stunning. And I know you're not getting good close-ups of this. Oh, the Eight of Pentacles is really nice too. So yeah, very beautiful deck. I'm going to pause and pull my court cards out of this and see you back in a second. And we're back. So this time I decided to leave in some of the major arcana cards as well as the court cards. I mentioned that in episode 2 when we were doing this with our hero, but I am much more inclined to do it with the villain, because typically in stories the villain is more powerful than the hero or heroine, the underdog kind of thing going on, and also that's what provides the conflict. You know, if the hero was more powerful than the villain, oftentimes, like, that just, you know, that takes care of your story right there. There is no story. So I left in the Emperor, the Empress, the Hierophant, the High Priestess, the Devil, the Hanged Man. Yeah, I left in some of the more, I guess, powerful feeling cards that might lend well to villainous kind of energy. So let's us take a look and see who my villain is. I am choosing, for this exercise, I'm choosing a single card to represent them as a person. And it would be good if I had them all facing the same direction, don't you think? So, interesting. So one of the cards that I decided to leave in was the extra card that this deck comes with, the Bruja card. So I am going to just sit that over there to ponder. I did want to make a note, since a lot of people do read court cards as indicating like age or, point in life, kind of things like that. If you pull a page and you're uncomfortable with having a young person or a child as your antagonist, well, obviously you don't have to use the age depicted on the card or whatever. But in my 2017 story, I had that happen where the villain came out as like the Page of Swords or something like that. And it really threw me for a loop. I was like, how am I supposed to use the page like this, like a child, as the antagonist? But if it was the ancient soul of, some dank ass sorceress that just like rolled up in here and decided to possess the body of a teenage girl, there you go. Get creative. Obviously, if you pull a page and you don't want it, to have a page as your antagonist, you don't have to. You can always, go back and pull cards again, or you can choose to just choose which card you want to work with, or choose not to work with any cards at all. Totally up to you. But I wanted to just put that thought in your minds in case you do get stuck with one of the pages or a knight or something and you're kind of struggling. Get creative with it. That's what this is about. That's what Nano is about. Stop filtering yourself. Stop editing yourself. Like, just allow the creativity to kind of flow. Whatever your inspiration is, this is not, there's no valuation on your creativity, on your inspiration, past what you give it. So, if you think something comes out and it's real basic, or it's stupid, or like it doesn't make any sense, make it make sense. It's yours. This is your creation. This is your baby. You do whatever the hell that you want to with it. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you. And it doesn't have to make sense at all. It's a work of fiction. Whatever you're working on for Nano is a work of fiction. So, now that I have my Bruja card out, I am going to shuffle these court cards, and that's the Empress. I'm going to shuffle these court cards and the few majors that I kept out back into the deck, and then I will see you back here for the second exercise of today.